Andrea, can you hear us by chance?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, so I went ahead and I gave you authorization to share your screen. Did you see that on your end?
Yes, now I can. Thank you.
Thanks.
Oh, didn't want to do it quite yet. And just to make sure, this is the Tooele Valley Rural Planning Organization meeting, correct? If someone replied, they're muted.
Hey, Andrew, yes, this is the Tooele Valley RPO.
Oh, okay, yeah, we have, we're not used to doing it as a webinar. We're used to seeing each other. So there's a little bit of confusion in the chat.
Hi, everyone. This is James with Grantsville City.
Right.
Thanks. This is Wayne Benyon with the Wasatch Front Regional Council. If somebody online could confirm that they can hear me all right, we will proceed.
I can hear you, Wayne.
Can you hear me, Wayne? This is
Yeah.
James, Grantsville City.
Yep, thank you.
Okay.
Looks like we're set. So thank you for your patience with the technology. And welcome everyone to the Tooele Valley Rural Planning Organization meeting being held Monday, September 12th. And it's now 1:39 and we'll go ahead and begin. For the benefit of those online, I think we'll ask everybody who's in person to go ahead and turn on their mic and introduce themselves. And we will start with Jeff Miller.
Okay, Jeff Miller, Tooele County Planner.
Andy Welch, County Manager.
Debbie Wynn, Tooele City Mayor.
Wayne Benyon, Wasatch Front.
Dan England, Grantsville City Engineer.
Brad Palmer, Utah Region 2 Program Manager.
Kip Billings, Wasatch Front Regional Council.
Clint Campbell, UTA.
Great. Thank you, everyone. And we also have a couple of people online that I think are new to this meeting. So we'll invite, I'll just call out your name, and if you would state your name and your organization, we'll go ahead and introduce the people have the people online introduce themselves as well. Andrea Pearson.
I'm Andrea Pearson. I'm staff at WFRC.
Juan.
I'm Wanlis Bradlin, UDOT Project Manager.
James.
James Waltz, Grantsville City Public Works Director.
Jesse.
Jesse Wilson, Grantsville City Manager.
Jim.
Bolster, Tooele City Community Development.
Katie.
Hi, I'm Katie Corianos. I'm here with Juan with the UDOT Mid-Valley Highway Project.
Paul?
Paul Hansen, Tooele City Engineer.
And is Ivan still on?
Yes, I'm here. I'm webinar forum, just also participating on the Mid-Valley Highway project.
Thank you, Ivan. And Mayor Critchlow.
I'm here. Thank you for having this meeting.
You bet. Thank you. Eldon.
Eldon Bingham with UDOT.
Terrific. Did I miss anybody online that's only virtual and not in person? All right, hearing sounds like we're good. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your participation today. And we'll start off with a request for any comments or a motion on the June 13th, 2022 meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Mayor Nguyen. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Andy Welch with Tooele County. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Hey, what do you know? You can see everybody in person here. So terrific. So those meeting minutes from June will stand approved, and we will turn the time over to Clint Campbell with UTA to talk about updating the RPO transit plan.
Hello, everybody. How are you today? Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. So here we are to talk about the Tooele Valley update, RPO, as well as some of the past stuff that we've done over the last year. This is just a quick update for some of you that have seen feasibility study, haven't seen it, as well as some of on-demand updates as well, because this was our first month rolling this out. We're really excited about it as an organization, and yeah, we're excited to share the information with you. So next slide, please. So yeah, this is just, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the feasibility study. I assume all of you, hopefully. We ended up concluding this in 2021, I apologize. And a couple of like interesting things that I thought about this when I was kind of looking through it quickly was just to see the amount of migration out of Tooele Valley for jobs on a daily basis, as well as the amount of people that you have staying in. So realistically, it does look like people are commuting out and they want to find a good way to get to Salt Lake Valley, to any other place that they're trying to go to, either for work or whatnot. So transit is definitely something that's vital out here and good for you guys to have and good for the Tooele Valley. Next slide. Yeah, so let me see. These are, I apologize, these are a lot smaller when they're up here. Had I known, I would have made these slightly bigger. So some of the things that we're looking at in this performance study, or essentially this review, we're just kind of looking at what some of the options would be feasibility-wise between BRT, mixed use, and like a heavy rail front runner train. It seems like a lot of people are definitely in favor of one mode of transportation over another. And that's something that no one has quite agreed on 100%. But I mean, I think if money wasn't an option, we could all agree on something for sure. But looking at the price of heavy rail versus bus rapid transit versus mixed flow express, it really does become difficult to kind of figure out what works best for your community. But that's why we do these feasibility studies and why we have these conversations. And I thought this was interesting, the alignment 3 versus alignment 4, BRT versus front runner, as far as positive responses. The BRT actually does pretty well. It shows about half of what a front runner does, which is really impressive. It shows that people within the community are excited about it. I mean, obviously it's not quite as glamorous as what heavy rail would be, in some ways, but it really does serve a purpose really well. And it's also substantially cheaper and something easier to implement, as well as a system that grows a lot better with communities. So I thought that was pretty cool. Next slide. So looking at this, these are some of the completed projects that we've done over the last year and some of the continuing projects. So we've looked at some of the flex route stuff. We're continuously looking at things to do out here in the Tooele Valley, as far as serving your schools, your different colleges, different metropolitan, well, not metropolitan, but city centers, stuff like that. And we're honestly always looking for feedback. We do tend to get a lot of feedback from riders, but also city council and RPOs are very, very valuable. So we want to continue developing cost-effective transportation for non-commuter and non-student populations. Being able to serve all populations in the Tooele Valley is a very high priority for us at UTA. Discuss transit needs regularly. Monitor and evaluate UTA on-demand services. This is something that as we've been rolling this out, we definitely want to make sure we get as much feedback from the community as possible, and anyone that has anything to say about it, please let us know. It's something new to us out here and new to you, and we're hoping that it grows well within the community, and we're really excited to see the potential. Tooele Valley is kind of a unique situation, how you're out here. And honestly, for just like in-valley trips, it could really be an awesome service. So we have our fingers crossed that that really does super well out here. And then just, we did finish the feasibility study over the last year. So that's just kind of showing something that we checked off the list, and something that in the future we can look back on and continue those conversations, hopefully. So the intermediate term, continue to pursue strategies. Obviously, from UTA standpoint, we want to see increased ridership, increased performance out here as far as efficiencies. And that's where your input and just getting the word out and helping people use these services, or showing them to us so we can help them, is critical. Using data, improve students, transit, that stuff, kind of goes hand in hand, as well as we're really excited to see that Tooele is doing their active transportation plan currently. UTA and active transportation pretty much go hand in hand. Ridership, about 80% of UTA's ridership comes from obviously walking or bike trips. So it's a huge amount of, once you can integrate a good AT plan into a city, transit comes along with it really, really well. So long-term, we want to increase peak on-off service. We want to figure out ways, if time comes, we figure out what we do. If we continue on demand, if that service is what fits the needs of your community, if it's fixed service like it was, like whatever works, as far as just trying to figure it out as far as what land use dictates and other things. And also, this is a point that we really want to kind of touch base on. Do not allow, or let's think in the future, long term, as far as allowing development to form in a way that doesn't mess up future transit, coming around the point of the mountain, or around the lake, making sure that there are ways that we can include whatever mode of transportation it may be. If we need an extra lane, if we need extra, some sort of easement, it's just important that in the future we kind of look to that and be much more long-term focused on it. So yeah, these were just some of the more success stories, as well as improvements coming up in Tooele. So we have the Tiger bike lanes that were accomplished. We're also going into first and last mile phase 2, which is also kind of one of those things where we're looking at projects to help facilitate first and last mile. So whether it be bike lanes, signage, some of that stuff, it's definitely a way that we can start to look at adding more improvements and some additional funding possibly into the Tooele Valley. So we'll stay in communication with that, and hopefully there's something we can work out. Tiger is an acronym that is transit. I'd have to look it up. I apologize. I can though. It is one of those things where every time I look at it, I'm like, oh, go.
I do not recall the acronym, but
Okay.
it's the predecessor to the build grants and the raise grants. So it's a discretionary grant program nationwide from 6 7 years ago.
Yeah, and they continue to change the name of it just to keep everyone on their toes. Yeah, it's always exciting. So as well as some of the improvements and just changes coming to the microtransit service, UTA On Demand is trying to actually change all of our fleet out here to electric. So that'll be cool. By August next change year, we're hoping to have that all implemented, as well as adding new charging stations, stuff like that to help support those. So that's something we're really excited about. So this is a UTA On Demand update. So this is the first update that we have for you guys as far as what happened within the first month. And we are actually really excited about this. So total completed rides with On Demand is 1,200. So that's throughout the whole month, which actually is pretty good ridership. Average weekday ridership was 67, as well as this one was kind of cool. The total unique users, 195. So that's someone that they're saying doesn't use it all the time, just like a one-off. So out of those, you can tell that a lot of ridership is people that use it quite frequently. And then you have kind of those one-offs here and there that are either getting acclimated to the system or trying to figure it out. Yeah, so this is all feedback from the health department down below, the current rider demographics. 1/3 is senior transportation riders, 1/3 are former flex route riders, and then 1/3 are new riders. So that's really cool that we're actually starting to reach some new riders, and hopefully that adds a little bit of, it's just something different from the typical ride shares that we have out here, as well as just kind of showing people that, hey, this flexes, it can take you to the grocery store, it can take you wherever you need it to go, as opposed to how, even though it was a flex route, they're still a lot more rigid than this service. So it's pretty cool. And this is just a note as far as dispatchers. What we're doing is obviously encouraging people to download the app and use the service. If you ever run across anyone that needs any information on it, feel free to direct them towards us. Or if you guys feel like you don't have enough signage or materials, let us know. We can try to help distribute some more of it. But that's kind of what's going on with that. So, and then some of the initial ideas for the 2023 to 2050 transit plan. And this is kind of just where we're starting, and we wanted to kind of get your input on it, kind of start that conversation as what you guys think you want to see out of a transit plan, what Tooele Valley needs. So we want to continue refining and improving on-demand service. So far, it's off to a good start. We like to see it. So hopefully we have your backing on that, or we can have those conversations and figure out what needs to happen. We want to pursue strategies to increase ridership, effectivity, all that good stuff, making sure people are using it, getting where they need to. It's fast, it works well, it's the right cost, all of that stuff. Improve pedestrian and cyclist access. Like I said, working with your AT plan, Jared was nice enough to include UTA on that panel. So we're looking forward to help combining AT and transit. And then just once again, promoting the corridor preservation to make sure that we're thinking long range as far as transit goes for whatever that mode of transportation to and from Salt Lake Valley looks like, or really, I mean, even transit within Tooele Valley, making sure that you guys set yourself up well in the future. So yeah, and that is the end of the transit spiel. Yeah, hopefully that was informative. Do you guys have any questions, comments, concerns off the bat? Yeah, I would think so as well. I really like it. As far as feedback, has anyone on the panel used On Demand yet or experienced it? Any feedback for that?
Our attorney did.
Okay.
Like the first couple of days, and it was really easy.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Okay. If the attorney liked it, that's always good. Exactly. Okay. Well, awesome. Yeah. Thank you for having me here, guys.
Thank you, Clint, very much. Andrea, would you mind going back to that last slide from that presentation? Thank you. So as you're aware, we're in the middle of updating the current RPO plan so that it extends out to 2050. And you've already given some feedback on updating the active transportation plan. And so thanks to Clint. We're interested in hearing if there's any additional thoughts today as to more ideas that you'd like to have considered or included in this update to the transit plan. This is a list of 4 items simply to start the conversation. So would love to hear thoughts on additional needs or desires for updating the transit plan.
Wayne, this is Eldon Bingham. Has this transit plan update been ran through Andrew, or not Andrea, but Heidi, who is the alternate transportation manager in UDOT planning?
Not to my knowledge, so thank you. That's a great suggestion. We will follow up on that.
Yeah, I would just suggest you contact her and let her know what's going on out there.
Thank you. That's great. Other thoughts? All right. Well, please give it some additional thought, and we'll include these initial ideas in the meeting minutes, and so that'll be a reminder to all of us to continue brainstorming and think about ideas to include in this update to the transit plan. So thank you. All right. Thanks again, Clint. And I want to also note, I don't know if it was obvious from the slide, but that slide near the start of Clint's presentation on the 2019 to 2024 near-term element of that's from the near-term element of the existing plan. Nearly all of those things, it's like, well, yep, this one here. So this is from the existing transit plan. It's only 2022, and UTA has completed essentially all of these items that were identified in the current plan already. So thank you, UTA. All right, with that, whoops. Thank you. With that, we'll turn the time to Brad Palmer here from Region 2 to talk about upcoming UDOT projects.
All right, do you have the presentation I send over? You displayed. There we go. Thank you. Okay, so we like to just come out once a year or so and just kind of give a brief update on projects that are currently happening in the current year, and then ones that are going to be coming next year, just to make sure everybody's aware, and if you have any questions on them. We also want to make sure that our project managers are working with your staff to make sure that we're getting feedback and any input that you may have as we work through these designs. So we've got 10 projects between this year and next year. 3 of them are currently happening right now or just recently ended. This first one is a pavement preservation project on I-80 from Milepost 60 to 70. It's a 15-year treatment that we're putting out there for about 13.7 million. We've had a little bit of delays on this one with acquiring materials. The plant that's supplying our stone matrix asphalt has been having some issues, so it's a little bit behind schedule, but it should be wrapped up before winter hits, and we'll be out of there. Go to the next slide, please. This one out on SR 196, another pavement job. We're just putting a seal treatment, a chip seal on the top of this. It did extend on to SR 199 also for, I think it was 8 miles. but it's going from Dugway up to Milepost 24. And then next year, I'll show in a minute, we're going to continue this. This is a 7-year treatment. It's basically just sealing the existing asphalt out there so that it'll last a little bit longer. And next slide. I believe this project's already done. And then this one just recently completed also. We put a new, what we call a VMS board, a variable message sign out on I-80 heading towards the West Desert. And this is particularly, we put this one out there to capture semis before they head out onto the West Desert on those high wind days. You probably see on the news a lot, but we get a lot of those blowing over when they don't heed our warning. So we're just kind of giving them a one last chance to get off the freeway, head back down to Grantsville, don't blow over. That's what the purpose of this sign was. And this one, my understanding, it just recently completed construction and is online at this point. Next slide, please.
They have to heed warnings on those signs. Just suggestions.
They're suggestions at this point, and we do sometimes on very, very high wind days. If UHP is available, we do request that they go out there and help them make a good decision. But yeah, we can't actually force them. It's their choice. So unfortunately, this next project, this is a region-wide project. If you've probably seen on the news, but the wrong way driving occurrences on UDOT freeways and high-speed facilities seems to be on the uptick. So we're trying to find ways to help notify people when they're heading the wrong way. A lot of those wrong way drivers are impaired drivers. And so what we found through research is when they're impaired, they're usually looking down at the pavement. They're not looking up to see the wrong way signs. And so this project in particular is going to be targeting adding those paving arrows on the asphalt just to show the direction of travel that they should be going. Our central traffic and safety group is doing doing a research project right now to come up with some better solutions, but we wanted to get something out on the road immediately to try to help stop some of these people. And so that's the purpose of this project. We've got $800,000. We're going to hit as many off ramps through the region as we can, and we think we'll be able to get most of them with this paint. We will be looking at the signing as we go through this. If there's opportunities to improve signage, we'll do that, but the main purpose is to get these arrows down on the ground. Next slide, please. This is also a region-wide project that will be constructed in 23. It's looking at culverts that are going under I-80. This is a phase 2 project. We just completed phase 1 recently, and most of those culverts were in the Tooele County area. This will just pick up where that one left off. I-80 was built a long time ago using corrugated metal for the drainage pipe, and as you can see from these pictures, they're not lasting much longer. So we're trying to get in there, address these before we have any kind of catastrophic collapse. So luckily we haven't had any of that. So we're trying to get these addressed before we do. Next slide, please. This one is also a region-wide project to replace all of our closed circuit television cameras that we have out on the roads. If you ever get on our app to look at traffic, you'll notice that they're usually still shots of the traffic that you can see. Our traffic operations sees a live stream, but the app does not. Our traffic operations center is upgrading their software, and then hopefully in the next few years with that software upgrade and these camera upgrades, we'll be able to have live stream more available to the public. So you'll hopefully be able to see that on your phones and other devices. And so we're just trying to get everything in place. But that probably won't happen for a few more years still. Next slide. And then back to specific projects for Tooele Valley. Our next safety project that we've got on the books out here is on SR 36. We've got a lot of median barrier that separates opposing traffic on SR 36 as you leave Tooele City, but it ends up around Mills Junction area. And so this project will continue from Mills Junction up to about Sunset in Lake Point and just finish that stretch. We don't want any more crossover crashes. We've had a few in this section and we want to prevent that. And so this will get that median barrier in place, and then it really finishes off the corridor, because then we're into Lake Point at that point, and we'll have to look at other measures up there. So this will be constructed again in 2023. This project, Juan, who's online, was actually the project manager, and it's just heading into being advertised right now. Next slide. This is another paving project on SR 196 where the other one left off, $4 million. And we're going to be doing a 1.5 inch mill with what they call fine graded, highly modified HMA. That's a mouthful of words for a paving project, but it's really targeting kind of a long-term preservation project. You can see from the benefits, it's a 15-year treatment, so we're hoping to not be back in this area for quite some time. But again, this will be constructed in 2023. And this one's actually just heading to advertisement right now, so hopefully we'll get good bids. And I think I have one more slide. I-80 milepost 50 to 60. So this one, again, just picks up where the other one is currently finishing. It's 1.5 inch mill with a stone matrix asphalt. It's a 12-year paving life, and this one's an $8 million project. So seems like we always have projects out on I-80. We probably always will. It's a long stretch, and we don't like to do it all at once. So we break it up into segments, and we'll just continue doing that to make sure that road stays together. And I think that's the last one. Is there any more after this that I missed? Oh, one more. All right, one more. I-80 Burmester to concrete. So this is just on the north side of Grantsville there from Burmester Road heading east over to where Mid-Valley Highway left off. So it'll just pick up right there where the concrete begins. And this one's a 7-year treatment, so 3.3 million. And that should do it for 2023 projects in Tooele County. Any questions on any of these? Do you guys take a lot of those? Nice. You can have all you want. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Any questions, comments from anyone for Brad? Great. Yes. And we'll normally Chip Mason Hill, who's the new relatively new traffic operations engineer for Region 2, would be covering this, but he was unable to make it. So we'll turn it back to Brad Palmer for a little update on CMAQ schedule.
All right, thanks, Wayne. So we have our yearly call for CMAQ applications coming up. October 7th is when we want to have letters of intent due, and those will be going to Charles Hill. And then the actual concepts will be due November 18th of this year, also going to Chip. He didn't tell me an allocation this year. Do you happen to know that, Wayne? How much is available?
So that might be a good item for discussion today. You could either decide to or recommend to Region 2. You could either recommend about 400,000 be available for application, or you could go up as far as 600 or 700, depending on the exact balance available. So somewhere in the 400 to 600 or $700,000 range. Any preference from members of the RPO? It's basically the difference between just using a 1-year allocation of, which is about 400,000, or using both that allocation for federal fiscal year 24 plus the remaining 23 allocation, FY23 allocation, which is between 200,000 and 300,000. Any preference there? Maybe we can wait and see what letters of intent come in and see how the evaluation goes and have some discussion on how much to allocate at the next meeting. So.
And maybe just a little more background for those that may not know this program very well, but it's the CMAQ is really targeting anything to do with congestion mitigation or improving air quality in the area. So you're looking at things like active transportation, transit, intersection improvement, trying to get cars from being congested. I know park and rides have been approved in the past, things like that. So just to give a few ideas. And then the letters of intent, they don't need to be real formalized or you know, they don't need to have a ton of information, just a brief scope of what your intent is and a generalized estimate on what you think the project will cost.
Awesome. So we will send an email out in the next few days with Charles' contact information or his email address. And those letters of intent will be due October 7th to him. And then we'll, after the letters of intent have come in, we will make available the application form, both the broader concept report form, it's called, and a cost estimate form, and also the CMAQ emissions analysis form. And those, like Brad mentioned, will be due November 18th. Any comments or questions regarding CMAQ? All right. Thank you, Brad. Appreciate that. And now we'll turn it over to Juan Lee Sprodlin, and she'll do a little update on the Mid-Valley Highway supplemental environmental work.
All right. Hello, everyone. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for letting me have this opportunity to present. I just wanted to update the group on the status of the environmental assessment for Mid-Valley Phase 2, 3. So currently, we just finished the public input for alternative development, where we screened through 4 different alternatives for the environmental assessment. Just to a brief overview, though, we completed the purpose and need for the project, and that ended in the spring. To review, this project is to address the regional connectivity due to inadequate regional transportation connections in Tooele Valley, reduce existing and future 2050 congestion on SR36 due to failing conditions in the PM peak in 2050 on SR36, and provide better access to planned developments in the study area, like for residential and commercial developments in the study area. and improve public welfare and safety by providing a high capacity alternative to SR36 in case of emergency. So we looked at 4 different alternatives. One of them is from the original EIS, Alternative 1, which has a high amount of environmental impacts. Alternative 2 was this green portion here. It goes straight, the most straightforward alignment, and then takes advantage of SR 112 at the end towards the south. And alternative 3, which avoids the UNEV pipeline and trails and some additional landfill and things like that. And alternative 4 utilizes the existing ship lane. During the public scoping comment, that was a request made publicly for us to assess. So during the 2-week public comment period, we received 52 formal comments from the public and local agencies. There were a few comments that were received after the period. Overall, the early supports were for alignment 2-3, with some coming from coming for alignment 4 along shape lane. So with that, we felt like there's so this is where we are, and we would need to move into the next stage, which is impacts analysis. But it sounds like we don't really have a true consensus of an alignment to move forward with. Overall, the majority leans 2-3, but we'd like to explore further, and so with the next stage, we'd like to hold a stakeholder working group to go over the results in details and progress to the next portion of the study. So with that, we're going to hold that on September 28th, which the majority of this group here is invited. And then we are continuing with our individual stakeholder meetings, landowners, developers, whatnot. And once we go through the impact analysis and come up with the recommended build alternative, we'll hold a public comment period later on this year. But might be, because it just lands in the middle of holiday season, it may be tough to get the public's attention and input properly. So we might hold it in early 23 after all of the holiday season's over. With that, oh, I forgot to touch base about, thank you for to this group and for working really tirelessly towards getting an updated active transportation plan for the area. Although it didn't make it through the scoping portion of the project, I think we will consider it in our document anyway. So with that, I just wanted to open up if there's any questions for me.
Any questions or comments for Juan? Thank you, Juan. That was informative and helpful. Appreciate that. Let's see, Ivan, are you covering Tooele Valley traffic modeling and projections?
I believe Grant was going to be doing that. You know if he's joined us or not?
I do.
I think he has a previous meeting. He's
Oh.
trying to he's
Looks
trying to hop over. So if we could allow him some additional time, a later time, and come back to him.
It looks, sorry, your name did not show up on the screen until a little. Looks like Grant is actually here, which we anticipated. I just wasn't patient enough to wait until we got to another row on the screen. So Grant, we'll turn the time to you. Thank you.
Thanks. Sorry, I was just in attendee mode. I wasn't sure how to, but I'm glad I got promoted. So I'm just gonna share this screen. You able to see a PowerPoint presentation? Or am I looking at the wrong one? Did I do the wrong one?
We are able to see. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So Juan just asked me to go over some of the traffic results. And so a lot of the traffic results are based on the growth analysis for the Tooele Valley. And that's given there's a certain amount of growth that's allocated to each county, and then just dispersed throughout the different communities. And so we're just going to go over the growth. I realize our meeting is limited and I don't want to encroach on anyone's time. So I'm going to kind of hustle through this. This kind of gives a high level summary. You can see substantial growth is anticipated in the next 30 years. But this is definitely not build out growth. So there'll be much growth that's anticipated beyond 2050 in the Tooele Valley. And it's always hard to anticipate the rate of growth, but this is just following our process and the process with our partner organizations. The Gardner Institute helps us come up with these amounts. And so we allocate them in different locations, working with you, the communities, to identify where these locations are for household growth. Previous iterations, we had a lot more up here. And so anyways, with our iteration this time, there's a lot more allocated around here. Just a lot happens in the past 4 years with referendum and announcements of key buildings being put in. So same with the employment, we have a lot more growth around here. And so that's again, not to say that there won't be a growth occurring in these other areas at some point in the future, but this kind of captures with the totals that we have allocated where we're showing them being planned. And so as we look at the Mid-Valley Highway, the different alignments that Juan went over, this looks at the growth that's happening in the 2021 to 2050 timeline, understanding that on top of this, there'll be additional growth. There'll be even more residential and employment being built. So part of this is looking at the effect on Mid-Valley Highway, and part of it is also looking at impact on SR 36. So when we looked at the 2050 build volumes, they increased. We have the most busy part is north of SR 138. And then between SR 138 and SR 112 is the next busiest part. And then south of Utah Avenue is when it is the least attractive. Or there's just not much demand at this point. And all of these are subject to change as different development patterns change. But this is what we're looking at right now. And one of the most important parts is that it really improves intersection delay on SR 36 at some critical intersections. Even though by 45%, the volumes are not changed by large margins, but it's because such a huge, or I should say, when you have a small change in volume, it affects the delay substantially. And so that's why we see such a big improvement at some of these critical intersections. This is again another one of the daily volumes by each option. They're pretty similar when you're looking at a growth option or a growth perspective of where we are in terms of volumes. I wouldn't get wrapped around the axle of comparing just one versus the other. They're pretty similar at this point, and it's always good to remember that it'll likely become even more attractive as there's more infill within Tooele Valley beyond these growth assumptions into the future. I would just say a lot of, even in Salt Lake County, there's a wish for an east-west corridor, and there's not really that option, and because the volumes were low enough that they didn't merit at the time. But this is kind of thinking ahead and will be really important corridor for the future of Tooele Valley, as you all know. This kind of looks at SR 36 and sees how it impacts SR 36. And some of these have slightly more than other areas, but again, very similar results, with the EIS being the least attractive out of all of these options. So not a big surprise that we want to steer away from the original EIS, but all of these other options are more beneficial to reducing the impact on SR 36. So with that, that's all I have to present. Just wanted to provide a quick snapshot of the traffic results that we're looking at, and with the growth assumptions that we're working with as well. Any questions?
Thank you, Grant. Any questions for Grant on these traffic volume forecasts? All right, hearing none, we will move on. Let's see, any other items of business from anyone? All right. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate your participation today, and special thanks to all the presenters, and also to the technology folks for successfully getting us all connected here. So thank you. Our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, December 12th, same time, same place. And we would love to see everybody there at that meeting. So thank you, and we will stand adjourned.
Does that mean the next one's not hybrid?